The 2022 season marks an absolute revolution in Formula One. A completely new set of technical regulations has resulted in cars that will look completely different to anything we've ever seen before in the sport. And I thought that was a good time to take a look at some of the key changes you're going to see in this season's Grand Prix. One of the biggest changes you'll see about these new generation of Formula One cars are the much bigger wheels and tyres. Formula One has adopted 18-inch wheel rims and they are clad with low-profile Pirelli tyres. And one of the factors about these Pirelli tyres is they're going to deform a little bit less at speed, and that's going to make the airflow around the car a little bit easier to manage. And the airflow management is one of the biggest and most important things about these new cars. And you can see that with these new elements that come up and over the front wheels. The reason for this is to control the wake, the aerodynamic wake from the front wheels, and stop it messing up the airflow around the rest of the car. A little bit less dirty air should mean the racing is going to be a little bit closer and a little bit more exciting. And you see wheel covers on the front and rear wheels for exactly the same reason. But moving back along the car, you start to see one of the real key differences to the 2022 cars, and it's a complete change in philosophy of how the cars make their downforce. And you can see that very clearly down here. Gone are the really complex and beautiful barge boards of the 2021 season, replaced by the entrance to the tunnels underneath the car. Formula One calls this a 3D floor, and essentially what they're doing is changing the underside of the car into one giant wing. And by doing that, the car becomes a lot less susceptible from dirty air from the leading car. And that means they'll be able to get closer on track, and it should result in a little bit more overtaking. And that's going to be a lot of excitement for everybody watching at home and those of us at the track as well. One of the most distinctive changes to Formula One in recent years can be seen right here, the introduction of the Halo, a really good safety innovation for the sport. And in 2022, there are more safety innovations on the car. The most obvious of these is the long nose of these cars. The cars will be able to withstand much higher forces in a frontal impact. And that's not the only difference, but it is the most visible. Here in the side of the car will be able to withstand slightly higher forces in an accident that way as well. But one of the key design differences is the car is designed to break apart in a really heavy accident so that the power unit and the monocoque will separate in a different way, not exposing the fuel cell in the way that we saw with Romain Grosjean's very fiery accident a couple of years ago. Underneath the bodywork is an area that I find absolutely fascinating. The Formula One power unit. Well, in terms of the technical changes, the power unit regulations are pretty much staying the same, though there are some changes to the homologation regulations. But the biggest change is actually to the fuel that goes into the V6 engine. It's an E10, so 10% of the fuel comes from biological sources. And it's a second generation biofuel, which means those biological components do not come from food crops, they come from a waste crop, and it's very, very sustainable. And it's a little bit of an opening on the pathway for Formula One's future and a far more sustainable fuel. Another key factor that which you've no doubt noticed looking at the 2022 show cars already is the change to the design of the wings. It's all part of the same aerodynamic package to improve the racing, allow cars to follow each other more closely. You notice the roll tips to the rear wings, and also this car doesn't have a DRS system on the rear wing. There will be DRS though on the 2022 cars, though we're not entirely sure yet how effective it's going to be. That's rather up to the teams. The front wing, like the rear wing, is a completely different shape to anything we've ever seen before. The nose designs and lengths will change slightly team to team, and you'll notice the whole front wing is sitting slightly higher off the ground than in 2021. That's to do, again, with making them less sensitive to the dirty air of the car in front and allowing the cars to get closer to each other and battle a little bit harder during races. And making racing closer is what 2022 Formula One is all about. And we'll see what it's going to be like on track very soon. But it looks extremely exciting for the 2022 season and for the future of Formula One.